Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our weekly builder series here with the Grid Investor Network. I'm Danielle Palloschi-Browne, Grid Ambassador and Investor Agent, and this is Raj Tamang, my partner in crime in doing this weekly. And Raj, we've been doing this for 3 months.
Yeah, it is.
Woo! I can't believe it's already been 3 months. It's amazing.
It's awesome. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm very, very excited. So today we're going to be talking about the first stages of construction. And as you guys know, Raj is a builder developer and has an engineering background. So we're going to go through what are the first things that happen when you do a major development, complete new construction home build, and what should you kind of expect? What should you look out for? And we'll probably go over a couple of things that you may not even think about if you haven't done this before, that you should just keep in mind as you go forward. Okay, so where do we start? Like, what do you do first in construction? And we've talked about permitting and budgeting, so let's just assume we're past that. So we're actually doing the work now. We're on site.
Yeah. So let's say now we have a permit phase is complete. That means you have a permit on hand.
Yeah.
So let's recap one more time. So when we say permit, there are a few things you have to keep in mind. If there's an existing house, old house, you have to tear down. You have to get a demo permit because you have to have, that's a separate permit from new construction permit. So build a new house, you have to have a new construction permit. That's different. But if you have an old house, for that you have to have a demolition permit.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's something you have to keep in mind. So you have to apply 2 permits at the same time if there's an existing house. Then also another permit is a land disturbance permit, because now building a new house, you have to disturb the land, right? If there's existing some of the trees on the way, you have to cut down, clear the site, erosion control, silt fence, construction entrance, those things you have to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a part of the pre-construction, I should say. But first of all, let's say you have a construction permit, you have a land disturbance permit, you have a demo permit, assuming you have an old house. If you don't have an old house, you don't have to do a demo permit, of course. It's only land disturbance permit, which is from the grading plans, which is you have to have a civil engineer do all the grading plans.
Yes.
That's correct. That will give you land disturbance permit. Now building a new house, you have the new construction permit, which is building plans, include architectural drawings and structural drawing like I am. So that will tell you how the building will look like, what type of structural elements, what are the size, things like that of nature you will see on the drawings, right?
And we talked about that for anyone watching this video and wants more information on what Raj just went through. We discussed this over 2 different videos starting 2 weeks ago and then 3 weeks ago. So if you go back into the Grid Facebook page, you should be able to find those videos if you want to learn more about those permitting, those specific permits he's talking about. Sorry, Raj, keep going.
No, that's perfect. Thanks for the reminder. That really helps. Now let's say you have a permit. So first thing you have to do is go to PRECON meeting. Be pre-construction meeting, okay?
Yes.
So pre-construction meeting, you have to schedule with Fairfax County. I'm not so much familiar with the other counties in DC area. I have not built homes, but Fairfax County, one of the largest county in the U.S. We do a lot of new construction in this county. So first of all, you have to do is the pre-construction meeting, which is pre-construction meeting with the site inspector.
From the county or the municipality that you're dealing with.
Correct. So I assume other counties that are the same. DC area, Maryland, I assume the same process. So when you say site inspection, which is related to grading plan, site land disturbance permit related, which is different as inspector. But it says when you have a new construction, that's a building inspector. Those are 2 different type of inspectors and 2 different departments you are dealing with at the same time.
Got it.
So when you do pre-construction meeting, so you have to schedule a meeting with the site inspector. For that, with the Fairfax County now, everything is going online. There's a link. If somebody needs specific information in Fairfax County, they can post a link below or comments below. I'll be happy to provide those links. There are specific links you have to follow now. So you have to do online, you submit, within 5 business days, the inspector will contact you.
Got it. Okay. So you submit online, they call you, set up a date and time for them to come.
Yeah.
And then what happens at this site inspection meeting?
Correct. So now let's say you call, and you just wait for 5 days. Usually it takes 5 days. So don't, most likely they're not going to call you before 4 or 5 days. Nowadays they're busy. Before that, you have to remember you are disturbing the land. There might be existing utilities, right? You have a gas, you have a, electricity, power, which is electricity, water and sewer line. You have to call misutility. That's part of the requirements. So before you go for a pre-construction meeting, these are the things the inspector wants to see. Is he or she wants to see the ticket from utilities, misutility. So you have to do online, which we can do. It usually takes 3-4 days. Once you applied, and they will go mark all of what the gas lines are, where the water lines are, where the electricity is. All that needs to be marked on the ground when you are there.
With the spray paint, right? Like for soccer fields, they use the spray paint.
It's a different color. With the gas is a different color, electricity different color. I believe utilities, they use a different color.
Well, that's smart.
Exactly, yeah. So those are marking has a different the purpose. So I think different color, different lines. So let's say you have already misutility ticket, because after they mark, they will send you a ticket, and you can print it out, and they will just describe what the locations are, what they have done. Do they see any interference or any conflict with any other power lines or gas? All those things will be noted on the ticket, right? So you print it out. Then you also have a grading plan. You also have a demolition permit. Then you go to the county, to the site for the meeting. So before that, any construction site, you have to build a fence. Okay.
Yeah.
So right. The fence is not just for protection, but also for erosion control, which is wastewater treatment. Stormwater treatment means if it is raining and you have a lot, you have new construction, you can assume you have a lot of dirt and mud on the site, and if you don't have a fence installed, if it's heavy rain, that all that mud can go to the next door, right? Go to the main road. All that needs to be controlled. So you can't
on the sidewalks or where people are walking
you have to make sure that all of that, exactly. That's a part of it. You have to make sure that the mud, when it's raining, will not go to the road, right? Or the neighbor's house. So otherwise neighbor will complain. Especially where I'm building houses in McLean. Our neighbor is so nice, they complain immediately. So I have to be very mindful.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, and besides mud, there's also as you then start building, there's things like screws, nails, I don't know, tools that get dropped, roof shingles, any small things. This prevents that from going into places where people could run over it with their tires or step on it or go with their shoes. It's a pretty important responsibility on whoever's building the property to put up this fence to just make sure it's safe for everybody in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's true. So that's part of it. So then before that, like I said, on a grading plan, we'll show the line of fence, because you have to fence. Do you fence the entire area or entire lot or only part of it? That depends on the grading plan. If you are building a big house, that is occupying a lot of your lot, means your fence line could be probably bigger. But if you are building smaller homes, you don't have to go such big, right? You don't have to build that big. Just, that's from the calculation, all that civil engineer will do on the grading plan. So before you do that, some of the builders, they hire a surveyor to do those lines. So you can go to Home Depot and you have a stake with flag. And then you can buy the yellow tape, caution tape, and you just have to mark the line of that seal fence. So those of you who don't know, there are two types of seal fence. One's a regular seal fence, which is you can go to Home Depot and buy the cheap, right? Other one is super seal fence. Super seal fence is the one that actually prevents mud and the rain, escaping from the side to the next neighbor a lot. So you have to carefully look at the grading plan, the location of the sill fence, and also
Mhm.
regular sill fence versus super sill fence, because you have to install that correctly. And again, if you wanted to, you can install super sill fence in lieu of super fence, in lieu of sill fence, but it's like 10 times expensive. So where you want to install super sill fence if you don't have to, right? Um,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and especially if it's not going to cause problems for other people,
yeah,
especially the neighbors, or really cause an issue, why spend the additional money if you don't have to?
exactly. Yeah,
Or
yeah,
use a combination of the two, depending on the site, depending on what it needs. You may not need to use super silt for all of the entire property. It might just be, say, one designated area that has maybe there's a good amount of drainage that goes to that part of the property or something like that, right?
that's 100% correct. So usually in new construction, you will see combinations. Maybe like half of it is super sill fence, half of it is regular fence. And the same thing, if you have a slope, let's say you don't find flat ground everywhere, right? If you get flat, so probably you're okay. But if it is slope, so at least on the downside where it's sloping, when it rains, all the mud and debris can flow through. You have to put a super sill fence on that direction, right?
Got it.
Um, so before pre-con, you have to have a permit drawing, land disturbance permit, demo permit, then miscibility ticket, and you have to have the ground for the sill fences.
Got it. So, and then once that's done, then you should put in to meet for the site
Yeah.
inspection.
So because what I usually do is I know that once you request for pre-construction meeting, it's gonna take 3-4 days anyway.
Yeah.
So when I'm waiting to hear from the inspector, I'll do all these things done.
Yeah,
So
no, it makes total
working
sense.
at the same time, yeah, saving time, yes.
Well,
But
saving time and making sure it's all done prior to this inspector coming. Because if the inspector comes and all of these other things that Raj has mentioned is not done, they're going to tell you to do it. And then you got to wait another week to meet with the inspector again. And you're not saving any time.
And at the same time, the inspector would be pissed off, right? Because he's busy. You have to understand the site inspector. We have to build a very nice and friendly relationship with the site inspector. I'm telling you, okay? You listen, be friends, because you need him or her the entire construction period. And he's the same inspector, or he's the same site inspector who will give you occupancy permit. So it's very
You're going to work
important
with this person a lot during this process.
Stuff, yeah.
That's a big deal. That's important to know. This is not a one-time meeting. You're going to meet this person several more times throughout this process.
And he will stop by several times a week. It depends how the inspectors are. Every inspector is different. So building construction, you have building inspector will give you final building inspection approval. But again, if you want to move into the house, you have to get occupancy permits, which is done by the site inspector. So you build that relation, make sure that when he's there, or when he's there saying, okay, you have to clean the street, or I have to rebuild the construction entrance, or gravel is already muddy, you do it immediately. I do it. Okay, sir, no problem. We'll do it right now. Yeah, that's our priority, especially for us, spec home builder. We're building several homes in the same neighborhood. Probably I'm dealing with the same inspector in different projects. It's very important that I work with a person in a way that make also their life easy. If they have to come and check my site and I'm messy, I'm not doing correctly, they will be more cautious and they will come to my site more often and start giving you trouble. But if you take care of it, when they come to you, everything is in place, nice. You know what I'm saying? Most likely they will also behave the same way. So I think it's a two-way street.
Absolutely. Their goal is not to make it more difficult for you to complete your project. They're just there to work with you to make sure everything's done correctly, to code, to spec, to just meet all the guidelines. And really, ultimately, this is for the safety of everybody involved. Like a lot of these things that we talk about, it has to do with safety, either environmental or other safety hazards, and then like building code and safety of the construction itself. All of this is about safety for everyone involved, including the crew that is doing everything. So as long as everyone remembers, like, this is their goal is not to really bust your chops. Like, they're there to help you. Just go with it. If they have a couple things that they need you to fix, it's usually not a big deal.
Yeah, it's not. And let's say because if neighbor something is not going in the way it's supposed to be, a neighbor complain, and site inspector is the one responsible because the neighbor will call Fairfax County, county will call inspector, hey, what's going on in your project side? Then of course the inspector would not be happy come to you. Then try to avoid that. Sometimes you can't, but try to avoid or minimize that situation as long as you can.
It makes the process smoother just for everybody.
It does.
Awesome. Okay, so then you have the site inspection. It goes well. What next? What happens after you get the inspection report back that you're good to go forward?
So this is the deal. Okay, so now let's say already you have a pre-construction meeting. In a pre-construction meeting, let me quickly go back. What do we talk? What the inspector will tell you. This is pretty standard. You said, okay, you will say these are, and also now with the Fairfax County, I think it's several other, local jurisdictions. With the county inspector or site inspector, also arborist, county arborist, C is also coming. C was I'm saying C because the lady I deal with in Fairfax County is C. I know her for many years.
So you have a whole tree inspection.
Yeah, that's a part of your pre-construction meeting because the C or arborist from the county also needs to be there. She has to make sure that the lady I deal with, she knows everything about all the trees and this tree and this tree, and that's her, experience. So she knows everything about it. Sometimes sitting with her, talking with her, so interesting to really understand how these trees work, what different trees, and she is very sometimes people love sharing information. If you ask, I truly believe that. And sometimes when I meet with her, I just ask, hey, what's going on here? Why is this? She would be happy to explain to you this tree is this. Some of the tree, for example, CC Raz, I know that it looks like right now is all good, but I guarantee it's gonna die. Because some of the trees needs a big shade, apparently. So you have a tree, very nice tree, maybe 10 foot, 20 feet trees, but under the big tree. If you cut the big tree, apparently those smaller tree will die. I did not know that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So there's
not flourish and grow bigger.
No, it's gonna completely die. That's what she said. You need a big shade. And I say I had the same situation. I had pre-construction meeting this on Friday last week. One of the spec home we're building in McLean. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even know. That's what they exactly said. Raj, this is the deal. The grading plan says you have to save these trees because she will point it out. These are the trees you're supposed to save. These are the trees you can cut down for a grading plan. When you save, these are the things you have to do. Make sure that existing trees, the trees you keep, will not die, right, during all the process of construction. Those are the main concern, her concern. And what the trees are, you have to put a sign, a tree protection sign. Just a sign, make sure that nobody is doing anything, significant around the big trees. And apparently all this big tree, even though it's all big, their roots are not going down too deep. It's within like 1 foot, 2 feet from the ground. Those are the majority of the tree roots are. So they sometimes you look all good, but if you remove about 1 foot or 2 foot of the dirt from the big tree around it, it's gonna die.
Yeah. Or it'll fall over.
It'll fall over, exactly.
Yeah, like any of these storms we've had in the last week in our area, like when you see those really big trees that fall over, their roots are actually quite shallow. That's why they're able to topple over.
Quick, easily,
Whew. And then it can fall on the house, on people, on large equipment. Like it could really cause cars. It could cause a whole thing.
We sold one spec home in Falls Shores about 2 weeks ago, and all this new couple, they're like just married. They have all this. This is their first new homes, and they are planning to have kids. All excited, and they're moving. And I think last week we had some, high wind. Yeah. One of the big trees fell on the roof and make a freaking big hole, and all the bedrooms are flooded.
Oh no! And it's a brand new house.
And the brand new house I sold a week ago. If I was not sold, probably that would be my responsibility to fix all of that. And she called me, Raj, this is what happened. What do you want me to do? I was like, okay, this is too bad. Because this is not really my warranty. I provide a warranty. I provide 1 year warranty, workmanship warranty,
Of
two
course.
year, yeah, 1 year workmanship, 2 year systems, and 10 year structural warranty. So this is not a structural. This is not workmanship. This is something happened because of the high wind, which is they should, you know,
It's their
realistically,
insurance. They need
the
to
insurance
insure
company, yeah.
Yeah.
But then I quickly went to look at it with my roofer. They have a big hole. So I had to cut down maybe 4 foot by maybe 5 foot of plywood, patch it, redo the whole thing. And then my roofer also feel bad. Raj, I mean, this is not a really good thing. They moved in, new house, they all excited, all of a sudden a big hole.
Yeah.
So we want to help them out. We say instead of paying for $1,000 to fix all of that, we say, okay, give us $500, we fix it all.
Yeah. You were able to patch it.
It and we do the whole thing. You have to do the right thing. And now you have to remove some of the drywalls and paint it. But that's a part of it. So that's what those are the things that's part of all those inspection help. And some of the trades, sometimes grading plan, civil engineer, they don't really pay attention. But when the arborist from the county he show up, he will tell you this tree is gonna die. You want to remove it. And also could be for safety reasons too. Things like that. So you have RBO site inspector will pretty much say the same thing, the things you are supposed to keep in mind, the things you are not supposed to do, right? They make sure that if the sill fence is in place, if the sill fence during construction damage, you have to immediately fix it. Those are the things you talk about, and anybody sign, you sign it there. So, so something happened, they will come after you. So that's a part of it. Now, then after that, what we do, we usually clear the site, then install the sill fence.
Yes.
Per grading plan. So when sill fence is installed per grading plan, then we have to call the site inspector, and the site inspector will come, make sure that everything is installed per plan. Then you can go ahead with the demolition, cutting the trees inside, that's, you cannot proceed with the demolition of the house until you install the sill fence.
Got it. So then and you also need a separate demolition permit. You can't just start tearing stuff out or throwing major stuff in a dumpster. And I'm not talking about like removing kitchen cabinets. I mean, removing roofs, removing, major parts of the home that make it inhabitable, right? Like make it actually livable. Once you start taking those things off, that's when you need a demolition permit, right? Or am I like describing that incorrectly?
No, you're right. So because you have to remember the existing house, you have an existing structure, and especially if you have a basement, you have a good amount of concrete or cinder blocks underground. You have to also take that out. Part of the demolition, you have to take it out. Otherwise, where are you going to keep it? There's no place, You have to take all this concrete and debris from the site, including the structure, and you have to, remove from the site. For that, yes, you need a demolition permit. Also, one of the things that, this is something I learned in the beginning of my career. When you have permit, that permit needs to be closed. You can't leave the permit open, right? So usually when I have a demolition permit, okay, I got the demo permit, I start building a new house. When you start building a new house, your new construction permit kicks in, it starts. But the demolition permit is still open because you did not call inspectors to close. Sometimes people miss it. It's easy to fix it. But as soon as the demo is done, you can, just take a picture and send it to the inspector, or talk to the inspector, or call for demolition final inspection. Schedule the demolition final inspection. You have to do it too. Yeah. So you have a demo permit, do the demolition. You don't have to wait. Continue the new construction, excavation, foundations for the house, but then also make sure that call the county for demolition permit final inspection. Then you're done with the demolition permit.
Okay, so demolition permit can include trees, taking apart the house, essentially, and any other like digging or removing of large things from the property, any place on the property.
Correct. The trees removal is part of the land disturbance permit. So the house itself, if you have a house, then including the foundation for the house, anything for the house, including foundation, all of that you need to remove. That's a demolition permit. But anything outside the house is a site clearance, erosion control, which is site clearance is trees removal is part of the site clearance, and that's part of the land disturbance permit.
Got it. Okay, so land disturbance permit. Great. So then, what else then happens from there? So you demo. You're allowed to do that. Then what happens? Do you need what do you do? What do you do with all the dirt? Like a couple weeks ago, we were in Annandale at one of your project sites, and there's a giant pile of dirt there because you dug out a basement. You're building a basement. What do you do with that giant pile of dirt?
See now. Okay, so let's say demolition is done. You take out all the dirt, another dirt. Let's say you take out the old foundation of the house. Now side is all clean. Means that you took out everything on the side. Now you have to start a new foundation for the new house. For that, we call it stakeout survey, because now you have a big site. How do you know which corner of the lot you are supposed to start excavating for the foundation or basement? Right? So what do? You call a surveyor, and our surveyor within a day or 2 or 3 days, depends how busy they are, they do stake out. Stake out means they will tell you, okay, this is the corner of the house, that's the corner of the house, this is the area you are supposed to excavate. And you have to understand the basement is, let's say, 8 foot or 9 foot, right? You have to dig the ground. Let's say it's a fully buried basement or a semi-wacag basement. So you have to dig the basement maybe 8 foot, 9 foot below ground. So when you dig, that foundation wall is vertical, plane, right?
Yes.
You can't dig the dirt vertical. You have to go on the slope, right? Yeah. Otherwise, if you start digging 8 foot or 9 foot of dirt vertically straight down, your dirt on the side will start falling down into the hole, big hole, right? So typically, if you have to go 9 foot below, they go maybe 2 to 3 foot or 4 foot, depending on what type of soil they have. Bigger they have to excavate. So you have to go slope.
That makes so much sense, because that also, when we were there, we walked around the exterior of the basement foundation that you were building.
Yes.
So we wouldn't be able to do that unless you went several feet wider than what you were actually digging for.
Exactly.
Yes. You have to go. Otherwise, you won't be able to go into the hole, into the basement.
Exactly. So because you won't be able to dig it vertically down. Also, you have to remember the footing is a little bit wider than the wall. So that's why you have to at least go, 3
So
to 4
basically, you go a little wider so you can come in at an angle and end up being able to build in the spot in the middle. So you go a little wider to then dig like that.
Right. Let's say this is the basement wall like this, right? But you won't be able to dig vertically down. So you have to go on the side like this. So all this part of the dirt you have to remove, right? So for that, exactly, the stakeout survey will tell you the extent. They will mark up. They also give you a cut sheet. Now, when you have all that markup and you have a cut sheet, then talk to the concrete guy, and they will go and start digging the foundations. And like I said, all that dirt, you have to take it somewhere. The one we saw in Annandale, the one we saw in Annandale, this is a half-acre lot in the city, which is still lot. And as you know, that we're building a big swimming pool, we're doing a lot of things, and the ground slopes on the back, it's kind of gentle slope, maybe 20%, 15 to 20% type of slope. So we plan to build a retaining wall on the back, maybe 2 to 3 feet tall on the back right corner, where we can take all that dirt and on the back and try to level the ground. Yeah. So that way you have level ground on the back while you are enjoying a swimming pool or maybe doing other stuff. So this particular project, we didn't have to take away this dirt. Paying $200.
That worked out. You recycled the dirt, if you will, to make it a prettier, better thing in the future.
Exactly.
Cool. So we have a question from someone watching us on the Grid Facebook page, and they asked if they're an investor looking to save some money on the renovation process, do they need to get a demolition permit if them and a friend are beginning the demo work? they said beginning, so I'm not sure to what point that might constitute. And I'm not sure how or what demo work, like if they're ripping out cabinets or if they're ripping out like flooring or if they're like trying to bump back and create a sunroom. So I'm not sure. But so any schematics around permits, what you really should pull a permit for demolition versus what really you could be fine with not doing.
Yeah, so this is the deal. If you're doing a renovation on a project, or you're doing pop top, you are doing additions, you are doing significant renovation in the house, I mean, you have to demo portion of the house, you don't get a demolition permit. You have to get a construction permit, and construction permit includes a part of the demolition you have to do for the new construction. So when I say demolition permit, you completely demo the existing house. You don't keep anything at all.
Got it.
In my experience, that only applies to new construction. You demo completely new house, then build a new house, then demolition permit. But if you're doing renovation of the house, if you're doing addition, pop top, where it requires part of your house to be demolished, yeah, no, you don't have to get a separate demolition permit. That's a part of the construction permit you get will cover.
Got it. Okay, so that's a pretty keen differentiating factor. And how much do permits for, say, like if you needed a full demolition permit, you're doing a new construction property, around how much does that typically cost? Or is there any like cost around that you can share? And obviously it's approximate and it really depends on the specific property.
No, demolition, do you mean the demolition permit or cost?
The cost of the permit.
The cost of my permit is not, it's probably less than $500 or $200, or maybe $500 or $600. It's pretty, yeah, it's not much.
Pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's very reasonable. You just, and there's no drawing anything you have to submit. But with the new construction, before they give you a demolition permit, I don't know if you guys remember, if you go back to a couple of the weeks ahead, we talk about this and getting a permit, is that for a demo permit, you have to make sure that you have a disconnection or demo letter from other utility company, water store, electricity, gas. They want to make sure that the county wants to make sure that the house is safe to demo. Because if the utilities are still connected on the house, that's not safe to demo, right? Yeah. So then they also look at the zoning. They are part of that process. They review the zoning. Zoning also reviewed it, and also there's a site review. There are a lot of review they do in the house. Once you apply, they will do all of that. Wastewater review, sewer water cap off, all that is part of the process you have to do. If you start talking, that becomes a long list. But those are the part of the applications you have to do when you apply for demo permit. Then once you have a demo permit and you can safely demo the existing house, yes.
Yeah, but only if you're doing a new construction or probably major renovation. And those are two types of permits specifically. So if you're applying for them, you know you're applying for that. If you're just doing like a cosmetic renovation, this is not necessarily the process for that.
No, even you have a major renovations, Danielle, you don't. But you have to remember, let's say you have a whole house and you just want to complete a demo, you don't want to build a house, that's okay. You can get a demo permit. Sometimes, okay, maybe you have a whole house, creepy house, it's just useless, you just want a demo, then you have to get a demo permit and clean the site, maybe wait for a few years. I don't know, maybe you bought that lot in cash and you don't want to do anything now and you want to wait for a few years. That's your lot, that's your money, right? So you can't do it. For that, you have to get a demolition permit. But let's say you are doing a renovation on a house, doesn't matter how big it is, as long as it's not a new construction, it's within renovation. Because you have to remember, when you do renovation in a house or pop-top additions, there's a certain requirement, like 50%. Your square footage cannot be more than 50% of the existing footprint, I believe. And also land disturbance cannot be more than 2,500 square feet outside. Mm-hmm. That will qualify as a renovation project or addition project. If you do more than that, even that renovation becomes your new construction.
Wow. Okay, yeah, so that's important to know. Yeah. So if you make your house twice as big, it is now new construction, whether or not it's fully new construction or not. Yeah. I didn't realize that. So that's actually, I appreciate you sharing that with me, because that's really helpful to know. So for any of you looking to pop the top or bump back or to the side, but mostly bump back where you're doing like a 2-level renovation, this could very much end up qualifying you in the new construction category. And you would require all those permits in that process that Raj and I were talking about at the beginning. So you would need the full new construction permit that includes your demo permit, the tree inspection, like all of that would then qualify. But if you're looking to do like a bathroom, keeping the same footprint, maybe change the kitchen cabinets, this is not the process. That's not going to be what you have to go through. And if you're just replacing, say cosmetically, you buy a home and you just want to change out the kitchen. You're keeping the same footprint. You're not really moving any plumbing. You do not need a permit for that. If you're putting everything back in the same place, you're replacing. You're not renovating, if you will, or doing construction. Is that correct, Raj? I just want to make sure I'm saying this correct.
Yes or no? Okay.
Okay. I'm poke holes in it, Raj. Teach me something.
Remember, the county wants money. Okay, that's the truth. So even if you want to replace your appliance, they ask you to get a permit. Okay, I'm saying, okay, I want to replace.
We'll figure out a permit that they'll need.
But my experience, I don't know if it's right or wrong. My experience working with many investors and builders, that if you are not doing any structural changes on the house, right, you are done changing the footprint or even the changes inside, you are not doing any structural impact to the structure, like removing the walls or things like that. Pretty much you are doing cosmetics, doing a drywall, painting, new flooring, cabinets, bathrooms. If you are adding a new bathroom, of course you have a new construction.
That's
a permit, not construction, new construction permit, but you need a permit. If you want to finish the basement, you want a permit. And one of the reasons is that I can tell you, a lot of people, they do unfinished basement to finished basement without permit. The problem is, if they added the new basement, if they have a basement and they added a new full bedroom and a bathroom, the problem in the county record, if you don't pull a permit, apply for a permit for that, it's not there. Now, when it's there 5 years down, 10 years down the road, all of a sudden, instead of 4-bedroom, 3-bath, you have a 5-bedroom and 4-bath, and the county does not have a record of it. Now you are in trouble, right?
Oh yeah. And when you try to sell it, like say you try to sell this home without the permitted, and it's not about being legal. Like sometimes people will say, oh, is it a legal bedroom? It's not about legal or not. It's permitted or not. Does it meet all the code requirements and safety requirements, specifically with egress windows and things like that? Can you, in a fire, get out of that room? Is the main requirement. It's less about closets and stuff like that. They're more concerned of safety, right? Like think about that. Not getting those things permitted up front can really bite you later. So there's a lot of buyers that have become very savvy. And if you're looking for a home in Fairfax County, anytime there's a basement that has a bedroom and a bathroom, any buyer client I work with that's looking for their personal home or not, or an investor, I always look up what permits have been done for the house. And that includes things like if you replace the hot water heater, the $120 or whatever you're going to spend on the permit is so well worth it because buyers look at this. This is public record on the county website. I don't even pay to find this information. I just go on Fido and I find it in like 2 minutes. I can find out exactly, and this is anybody's house. So if you do these things properly, like get your egress windows permitted, get your hot water heater, HVAC systems, like any of those things that you change in your home, take the time to do the permitting, because if you try to sell this property later, it could really bite you in the butt.
Yeah, it does. And also one thing I can tell you is that new construction and renovation permit, okay, you have to remember I said that for the new construction in general versus renovation project is that 2,500 disturbance area outside, right? That if you exceed to 25, more than 2,500 land disturbance area outside. So if you're doing addition on the back, it could be still renovation. It doesn't have to be new construction. So one thing, just let it clear. When you say renovations, addition project doesn't mean you have to work inside the footprint. No, you can still go outside, but as long as the outside area is within 1,500 square feet land disturbance. Okay.
Right. And does
That
that include decks and patios, or is it just if you create livable rooms attached to
No,
it?
the decks and the patio too. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit different because if you are adding 10 foot by 10 foot on the outside,
Yeah.
the way they calculate disturbance area from the 10 foot, they add 10 foot on left, right, all four sides. Because when you're building a 10 foot by 10 foot, you're not gonna just work there, right? Probably you're gonna go out maybe 5 to 10 foot. So
Yeah.
assumption with the county is you're gonna go at least 10 foot outside of this perimeter. So if you are building a 10 feet by 10 foot, I'm not, 10 feet or 10 feet, it's like 100 square feet now. You have to do 100, 10 on the both sides, that becomes 30, plus 10 foot, that's a 20, right?
Yeah, you're at 500 square feet at that point, like all around.
Yeah, it's
Edge to
500 square
edge
feet.
for
Yeah,
100
that's
square foot
600,
deck.
1, 2, 3, that's 600 square feet, 3 times, 300, 30 times 20.
Yeah. So
Right?
then you would have, for what's 100 square foot deck, you need 600 square feet of space to put it. Am I roughly calculating that correctly?
Yes. So if you are doing addition, let's go. Deck is a little bit different, I would say, because deck is open. There is no roof; it's open. And
Sorry. So then you would need 600 square feet outside to add 100 square foot room to the out to
the
bump
room,
out.
like
100
if you're
square
doing
feet.
sunroom or if you're doing screen ports and stuff like that, or you're adding or extending the house, yes, it is. That's just the
Got
example.
it.
So that's how they calculate 2,500 square feet. And all this new addition, including a pop top, it has to be less than 50% of the actual. So the difference, a lot of people, they try to avoid going new construction. You have to remember, it's not just the cost, also time. When you go new construction, you have the new construction permit. Also, you have to get grading permit. So all of a sudden, you have to hire a civil engineer, pay $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. I don't know how much it's going to cost to prepare the full-blown grading plan.
Yeah, for the whole lot.
Grading permit, which is land disturbance permit. So all of a sudden, you added all these additional requirements part of your new project. Part of the project. So that's why most of the project people, renovation, they try to stay within renovation criteria, right? And this is the deal. Sometimes people do it. Okay, so you are doing addition on a house and just adding a deck, maybe go more than 25. What they do is they build a house, do all the additions within 2,500 square feet land disturbance and that 50% of the actual footprint. Then once you're done, build a deck later. You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? Because with the different permits, we do that so that you don't have to do all of them together. So do all of that, close the permit, then pull another permit for deck only. Pull a separate permit. Sometimes you can do stages and to avoid that kind of going to the new construction. Like I said, new construction permit, it's unless you are tearing down that whole house, I would not recommend going to that route because it's not worth it, you know?
No, and it takes a very long time to get that permit. That's not like the 5 days that you were talking about getting the inspector out for the site visit.
No,
it's like 6 months in many 4 to 6 months for many counties to get a new construction permit, which Raj talked about before, is anything adding 50% more square footage to a property and up. So that qualifies for all sorts of different projects, and that includes like pop the tops. So this could really, you really want to figure out what the best ROI, like if you're investing and you're going to be transforming this property and you're trying to figure out what is the best ROI for this, you're really going to want to be mindful of that because it can completely change your time frame. And if you're using hard money on some of these flips, that could really bite you. Like if you have to add 6 months of holding costs on a property, that could literally cause you to not have any profit. So be just really mindful of that, and talk with your engineer, talk with your GC, talk with your architects and see, would we be adding 50% or more? Or what can we do to maximize the ROI? And also leverage your real estate agent. Sometimes you might just be building too big. Like you may not need to build an 8,000 square foot house in order for it to really get to the profit that you need. A lot of times, the smaller properties, you make more money per square foot if it's very, very well done and it makes sense in the flow and the layout is excellent and it has certain features. You'll sell that for a lot more money than you will a whole bunch of additional blank square footage. There's a lot of people that just like function and flow. So kind of adding all that together, be mindful of how big you're going to build. Bigger is not always better.
Yeah, that's correct. Unless you have your intent and you have, yeah, that's a different story. But especially for the investors, real estate investor and flippers, be mindful because the time is money. And going bigger project, you might have potential getting more money at the end because you would be able to sell for a higher price. But you have to be mindful of the time frame. Now you have a holding cost is higher. All that comparison you have to do. Sometimes, like Danielle said, it's worth it for me as a flipper to quickly do smaller renovations and quickly flip versus trying to do a bigger renovation, taking more time and try to sell for more price. But at the end, your net profit or return on investment ROI could be less. So for me, I'd rather get something quickly within 3 months or 2 months, or try to get the same thing done for 10 months or maybe 12 months. But your profit margin is higher, but your return on investment is low. I always look at ROI. So.
Yeah, and the headaches. The more square footage you build, the more likely that you will have something go wrong. It's the laws of averages. And we're starting to divert from the construction conversation, but this is really important. Like when you're talking about these initial conversations on what are we going to build, how big are we going to build it, it all ties back into that budgeting on a per project basis. So that's why I thought it important to build up or talk about. So we have one more question. And the question was how to find an appraiser to verify an expected ARV before a project is started, and if we had any strategies on that. Typically, it really depends on how you're going to purchase that project. If you're buying it in all cash, you do have the opportunity where you can hire a private appraiser, and you can ask them to both appraise the current value. You'd pay them for one appraiser for the current value of the property, and then one for the ARV, or what you are hoping that it would be at the end of the project. But in order for them to do that ARV appraisal for you, you're gonna have to tell them what you want to build. Because otherwise, really, you're asking them to be your real estate agent and tell you all the options. Like, hey, at 4,500 square feet, this is what you could build. Or if you did 5,500 square feet plus a one-car garage, this is what that would look like. Or if you build 7,000 square feet with a basement and a two-car garage and an ADU, this is what you could sell it for. The appraiser they can only do an ARV if you tell them what you're gonna build, and you have to be very specific. Possibly even show them a comp that you think and give them an idea around it. You're much better off leveraging a realtor who really knows what they're doing, possibly the one that even helped you find this property, if that's the case, because they're the ones that are really in tune with the market, and you can talk through scenarios with them. And then if you wanted to submit your comps to an appraiser to have that appraiser verify that for you, that might be the best process to do. I've done that a couple of times before with clients. But an appraiser is not necessarily going to go through every possible option for your ARV, because it would be a type of consulting outside of the scope of what they really specialize in doing. And I hope that makes sense for what I'm talking about. But yeah, leverage a realtor for that, but an appraiser can verify it.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think, is there anything else we should cover for, demo, permits, inspections, any of that?
I think this is pretty much it. I have another Zoom call at 2 p.m., 2 o'clock.
Oh, cool. Well, that works out.
Yeah, we can continue it, but like I said, this is pretty much it. So you have a demo permit, you do the demolition, now we start doing new construction out. So next week we'll start talking about the foundation and the basement and concrete work, and so on. I think, yeah, this is like half an hour, 35 minutes, 45 minutes, pretty good.
Yeah, no, I thought this was really great.
No, I thought it was like 15 minutes. I thought, oh my God, we only have 2 or 3 topics only, but now you see all of a sudden it's almost an hour.
Yeah, before we started this, we're like, oh, this will be like 15 minutes. 55 minutes later, we're killing it. If you have any other questions specifically about the initial parts of the construction process, And that would be for major renovations, anything 50% and bigger, as we learned today, on what that would look like. Or if you need permits for certain changes you might want to make to your own personal home or to a cosmetic flip, leave them in the comments, and Raj and I would be happy to get back to you. We're also going to get back to you with some links that we talked about earlier, ones for Miss Utility and where to submit for a site inspection. Specifically, we can do Fairfax County, but any county you're working in will have this link as well. We can share that down there. And if anybody has any sill fence questions, we could also put a link to or a photo of what those look like at a construction site. It's not like a tall fence. It's actually usually like 3 or 4 feet tall and kind of looks more like a banner, I think, to me than anything else. But we can share some of those informations in the comments so you guys can take a look at that later. And then next week, we're going to be talking about construction phases part 2. So we're going to get into the actual construction of the home, what's required there, the order of operations when building, and let us know if you have any questions for next week, and we can include that in what our conversation is.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, it was fun. Thank you so much. Thank you, Danielle.
Yeah, this is great. All right, thanks, Raj. I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.